Hey everyone. Last time, I promised you big news about the future of the basics, and with this episode, the time's come to deliver on it. I've been working on this series for almost a year now at this point, so this hasn't been an easy decision to make, but I've come to the conclusion that I made a mistake. Transformers it's just old news. Going forward, the focus of the basics is going to be changing to the real crown jewel of 1980s transforming robot franchises. And it begins today, April 1st, with... Tonka's GOBOTS were the Transformers rivals on the toy store shelves of the mid-1980s, and just like their Cybertronian competition, their origins lay in a pre-existing toy line from Japan. Launched in 1982 by Bandai subsidiary Popey, Machine Robo was a line of 2 to 3 inch tall robots with simple names like Bike Robo and Jet Robo, who could be converted in 2 or 3 simple steps into vehicle modes that ranged from the realistic to the futuristic. The Machine Robo were aliens living in disguise on Earth following the destruction of their homeworld Romulus, defending the planet against the evil Devil invaders. The successful line steadily expanded to include larger-scale DX figures, and in 1983 Bandai decided to market it in other countries. In Europe, it was known as Robo Machine, while in America and Australia, it was sold under the name Machine Man. Europe and Australia embraced the series, but it failed to find an audience in the US. It was around this time that Hasbro entered into partnership with Japanese toy makers Takara to create the Transformers toy line by importing and rebranding Takara's Diaclone and Microchange toys. American toy company Tonka, famous for their range of toy trucks, employed the same tactic, partnering with Bandai to reimagine Machine Robo in a way that could help it succeed in the US market. Thus, the Machine Robo became the GOBOTS. Mighty robots, mighty vehicles, split into 2 factions, the friendly Guardians, led by Leader 1, and the enemy Renegades, led by Psykill. Launched at the end of 1983, several months ahead of the Transformers, the series was supplemented by a storybook titled Escape to Planet Earth that was given away free at toy stores, which explained Tonka's new origin for the toys. The GOBOTS, the book explained, hailed from the planet Gobotron and had once been organic life forms before gradually replacing every part of their body with mechanical ones, leaving only their organic brains encased within transforming robotic shells. Across 1984 and 1985, the GOBOTS went head-to-head with the Transformers for supremacy. The regular GOBOT figure's $3 price point made them a strong seller, and as Machine Robo continued to grow in Japan, so too did GOBOTS expand, importing more and more of the Japanese figures, including ones with more diverse forms like the Devil invaders, who became the Monster GOBOTS. The DX Machine Robo figures became the larger-scale Super GOBOTS, and combining figures like Renegade Puzzler and Guardian Power Warrior Courageous joined the fray, all alongside Tonka original figures, vehicles, and playsets like the Guardian Command Center, the Renegade Thruster, and the motorized monsters Zod and Scales. Tonka even licensed the GOBOTS branding out to other companies, resulting in a mountain of aesthetically dubious tie-in figures and merchandise. To promote the toy line, Tonka partnered with animation giant Hanna-Barbera to produce the animated series Challenge of the GOBOTS, which began with a 5-part miniseries that aired in the fall of 1984 and continued into a full series of 60 further episodes that followed a year later, including a second miniseries that delved deeper into the GOBOTS' origins. The series centered on 6 main characters who appeared in virtually every episode, with the expanded cast of the toy line rotating in and out for guest appearances. On the Guardian side, Leader 1 and his closest allies, the Brawler Turbo and the cowardly Scooter, worked with the humans of the United Earth Command Unicom, including their astronaut friends Matt Hunter, Nick Burns, and AJ Foster, to protect Earth and Gobotron from Psykill and his renegade cronies, the cackling Crasher and the thuggish Copter. The series established much of what are considered the fundamentals of GOBOTS today, like their universal ability to fly, and their use of built-in energy blasters rather than handheld weaponry, and technology like the Astro Beam teleporter and the modifier used to give them their alternate modes. The cartoon spawned all the obligatory ancillary media one could expect out of an 80s franchise, including a magazine and storybooks, and as it was exported to other countries, Bandai started using GOBOTS character names and terminology in Europe's Robo Machine and Australia's Machine Men toy lines, in an attempt to align the properties as best they could. In Australia, the cartoon was retitled Challenge of the Machine Men, while in the United Kingdom, a Robo Machines comic strip published in The Eagle magazine used GOBOTS names and concepts in a wildly different scenario. Here, Psykill and the other evil Robo Machines were the creations of mad scientist Strondomes from the planet Robotron, whose attempts to conquer Earth were opposed by Excel and his heroic security forces, with a little help from psychic British teenager Charlie Bampton. Now, don't let the way history has gone on to paint them deceive you. At their peak, GOBOTS were an unqualified success, one of 1985's top-selling toy lines. Transformers just sold even more, that's all. And as 1986 rolled in, the GOBOTS had been well and truly eclipsed. This year, Bandai took Machine Robo in a new, unique direction with its own anime series, Revenge of Kronos. Most of the Revenge of Kronos toys were reissues of existing Machine Robo product. Hence, with few new figures to import, the GOBOTS line wound up descending into a hodgepodge collection of toys culled from different sources, including leftover and unproduced Machine Robo designs, and a few new original ones, a handful of which were haphazardly tossed into the cartoon at the last second in its final half-dozen episodes. Challenge of the GOBOTS wasn't renewed for a second season, but a theatrical film, Battle of the Rock Lords, was released in March of 1986, serving as a springboard for Tonka's new spin-off Rock Lords toy line, a range of, you guessed it, transforming rocks, made up of figures drawn from the Revenge of Kronos line. The last few GOBOTS trickled out in early 1987, and the line quietly came to an end, with several planned figures and playsets even going unreleased. Machine Robo continued for another year with the release of a second anime, Battle Hackers, as did Europe's Robo Machine, with Revenge of Kronos even being dubbed into French as The Revenge of the GOBOTS, with all the characters' names changed to those of the GOBOTS cast in a strange attempt to tie it into the existing franchise. But before 1988 was over, both had come to an end. In 1991, the story of the GOBOTS took an unexpected turn when the failing Tonka was acquired by Hasbro. Though Bandai still owned the GOBOTS toy designs, this meant that the makers of Transformers now owned, and still own today, the GOBOTS name, characters, and intellectual property to use as they see fit.
In the mainstream, this has amounted to little more than periodic use of the GOBOTS name as a trademark unrelated to the original.
First in 1993, as the name of a Transformers Generation 2 Autobot. Yeah, that's right, one guy with the plural GOBOTS for a name, really. Then as a subline of Hot Wheels-style Generation 2 figures in 1995. As the name of a Playskool spin-off line in 2002 about kid-friendly robots from the comet world of Botropolis. And most recently for a range of motorized toys in the 2011 Dark of the Moon line. Outside of numerous Easter egg appearances in Transformers comics, Hasbro have made little use of the actual GOBOTS characters, preferring instead to reuse their names in the same unrelated way, as with the 2003 Transformers Armada Minicon Leader 1, or to merely pay homage to them, as in the case of 2007's Fracture, who was designed to look like Crasher. In 2004, it was Takara who made the first real attempt at using genuine GOBOTS characters under the Transformers banner, with the release of the G1 GOBOTS, an exclusive set of 6 recolored Autobot mini-vehicles. Each figure was named after a GOBOT with a similar alternate mode: Bad Boy, Bugbite, Pathfinder, Road Ranger, Smallfoot, and Treads. And the profile included with the toys made clear that these were the actual GOBOTS characters, an allied team of Guardians and Renegades who had adopted Cybertronian appearances so that they could travel from their universe into the Transformers world to investigate a mysterious cataclysm that was destroying their home.
Takara ultimately chickened out of using the characters' names on the finished product, fearing that Bandai might object. But a few years later, Fun Publications, the company who ran the official Transformers convention and collectors club, threw caution to the wind and decided to take the baton. In 2007, they released a new toy of Bugbite inspired by the Takara figure, and in 2008 told the story of the G1 GOBOTS in the online exclusive prose story Withered Hope, which followed the team's dimension-hopping adventures as they sought a way to save their world. The story was left dangling for several years, but would later be revisited and resolved in 2016 in the short prose series Spatio-Temporal Challengers. Around the same time, Fun Publications ran the Facebook Q&A column Renegade Rhetoric, a spin-off of the established Transformers Q&A Ask Vector Prime, which was hosted by Psykill himself. In answering readers' questions, Psykill spun new adventures that continued the story of the Challenge of the GOBOTS cartoon, eventually recounting a full, fictive second season of 65 episodes, all done in the deliberately cheesy stock plot style of the original series, featuring all the series regulars, all the toys, both released and unreleased, that would have been in it if it had been a real thing back in the 80s, and even new characters based on Machine Robo toys that had never been imported. With Fun Publications' loss of the Transformers license at the end of 2016, it doesn't seem likely any future licensees will embrace the lore of GOBOTS to quite the extent that they did. But you can still experience the original for yourself. The entire Challenge of the GOBOTS cartoon is available on DVD from Warner Brothers. And you never know what unexpected surprises may lie in the future, like Action Toys' new officially licensed range of Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos figures. Their 2018 Bike Robo DX figure came with alternate Psykill faces based directly on the cartoon. Surely it's only a matter of time until the world wakes up to the truth and realizes that GOBOTS are the future. And those are the basics on GOBOTS. I hope you'll all join me as the series continues down this new path we've started on. We'll carry on the way we mean to next time as we take a look at the basics on Scoot. Yeah, no, it's Beast Wars Megatron. April Fool, big shock. It's going to be Beast Wars Megatron. I'll see you then.